It is Monday, July 27. Welcome to CGN News. Former Prime Minister of Barbados, Owen Arthur, has died. The government issued a statement this morning confirming that 70-year-old Arthur, the longest-serving head of government, died at 12:26 a.m. local time. He had been admitted earlier this month to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital after suffering heart-related complications. Arthur, an economist, served as Prime Minister on 3 occasions between September 1994 and January 2008. He led the Barbados Labour Party, the BLP, to victory in the 1994 general election and won general elections again in 1999 and 2003. He was the leader of the opposition in Barbados from August 1, 1993 to September 6, 1994, and from October 23, 2010 to February 21, 2013. The CMC reports that Colin Jordan, the Minister of Labour and Social Partnership Relations, will be the coordinating minister for the funeral arrangements. A British-based Citizenship by Investment (CBI) researcher is hailing the success of St. Kitts and Nevis' CBI program. James Mackay, the founder of Mackay Research, told a weekly podcast by London-headquartered government advisory CS Global Partners that St. Kitts and Nevis had scored top points in the CBI index. The St. Kitts and Nevis CBI program, established in 1984, requires applicants who have passed rigorous due diligence checks to make an economic contribution to the country. Acquiring citizenship under the fund option requires an applicant to make a one-off contribution to Sustainable Growth Fund, CS Global Partners said. It said there is a limited time offer that allows families of up to 4 to obtain citizenship for $150,000 instead of $195,000. Several thousand members of Protestant churches demonstrated Sunday in Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, against the country's new criminal code, which they consider immoral because it penalizes discrimination based on sexual orientation. The new criminal code does not change the content of the Haitian Civil Code, which codifies marriage and only allows the union of a man and a woman. But the AFP news agency points out that the addition of the words sexual orientation to the list of criteria for criminal discrimination was enough to anger conservatives, who are also mistaken about the articles punishing incest and bestiality. The AFP also interviewed 2 pastors who said they were not against homosexuality, but many of the faithful testified to their extreme homophobia. The Trinidad and Tobago government is cracking down on legal Venezuelan migrants who have been facilitating the illegal entry of their relatives and friends from the South American country. This as health authorities confirmed an increase in the number of COVID-19 cases there. According to a CMC report, the National Security Minister Stuart Young, addressing a Ministry of Health virtual news conference, said the police, coast guards and other national security agencies will be searching for and detaining anyone involved in human trafficking or harboring illegal immigrants. Young said that landlords who rent their premises to migrants must inquire whether they have the requisite documentation to be in the country. The Toronto Star has reported that a Jamaican seasonal worker in Canada who was permanently injured in a workplace accident had his benefits cut off and told he could earn a living as a shoe shiner. The case, which is now under dispute at the Provincial Compensation Board, surrounds a late 2015 accident at a food processing plant in southwestern Ontario that left the worker with catastrophic injuries, according to submissions to the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board. The decision, currently under appeal, according to the workers' representative, lawyer Kendall McKinney, is an example of unconscious bias and racism at play. The attorney said it also brings into question the fate of migrant workers who may be left with permanent impairments after battling COVID-19. Colin Lewis, Desmond Amsterdam, Dennis Thomas and Kevin Alcock, 4 of Guyana's national boxers, are now back home after being stranded for months in Cuba due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The 4 men, who are Olympic boxing hopefuls, were sent to Cuba in January 2020 to undergo training for the qualifiers which were scheduled to take place in Argentina in April. The boxers were scheduled to return home on March 22, but were unable to do so as Guyana's National COVID-19 Task Force, the NCTF, closed the country's borders and airspace to control the spread of the coronavirus. Director of Sport Christopher Jones, in an interview with Guyana's Department of Information, said when the country implemented lockdown measures, the National Sports Commission took the responsibility of the boxers to ensure that their accommodation and other needs were taken care of. Overseas now, a senator for the state of Arkansas has described slavery as a, quote, necessary evil on which the American nation was built. In a local newspaper interview, Republican Tom Cotton said he rejected the idea that the U.S. was a systematically racist country to its core. He is introducing legislation to ban federal funds for a project by the New York Times newspaper aimed at revising the historical view of slavery, the BBC reports. The project's founder expressed outrage at the remarks. This comes amid the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement. Spain is fighting to save its embattled tourism industry after the UK government imposed a 14-day quarantine on all arrivals from the country. Government officials insist the virus is under control and want certain areas to be exempt from the UK self-isolation order, including the Balearic Islands. About 18 million Britons traveled to Spain in 2019, almost a quarter of all arrivals in the country. Junior Health Minister Helen Whatley has defended the quarantine. She told the BBC that after all the sacrifices made during the lockdown, the UK could not take the risk of going back to a situation of rising virus rates across the country. North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un was shown Monday surrounded by generals holding commemorative pistols awarded to them to mark the anniversary of the Korean War armistice. Meanwhile, in the south, masked veterans marked the occasion with a socially distanced ceremony as the two sides separately held memorials for the armistice that ended hostilities in 1953. The contrasting events marked 67 years since the ceasefire that left the peninsula divided and millions of families split by the demilitarized zone. In the North's capital, Kim handed out commemorative pistols to dozens of generals and senior officers who pledged their loyalty to him, state media reported. The United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres announced the appointment of Jamaican Pamela Coke Hamilton as the Executive Director of the International Trade Center, the ITC. The ITC is the joint agency of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development and the World Trade Organization for Trade and International Business Development. She succeeds Arantxa González Laya of Spain. The UN chief said Coke Hamilton, who is currently the director of the Division on International Trade and Commodities, quote, brings a breadth of experience and expertise in trade-related capacity building and sustainable development, end quote. She previously served as executive director of the Barbados-based Caribbean Export Development Agency, strengthening the capacity of private sector and micro, small and medium enterprises through investment promotion. That's it for CGN News. I'm Scott Wilson. Thanks for watching.